Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Average Joe's Sports Talk Saturday morning recap show. Caleb Brooks, Corey LaBounty here with you to break down all the action. Hopefully, going to be joined by Bo Starkey here soon. Bo, I think, had a late night celebrating with Coosa Christian last night as they move on to the state championship, and I think had a good time with their coaches and with their program. And his daughter goes to school there at Coosa Christian, so we don't favor certain teams, but obviously when you have some ties the way that Bo does there, that's an exciting thing, Corey. I can tell you if Benjamin Russell Wildcats would have been able to get to last night and they would have knocked off Saraland, I probably would have been celebrating too. And you may not have found me this morning. So, but a lot of teams that spent the night celebrating 6 teams last night, that spent the night celebrating 6 teams that, spent the night disappointed. And, Corey, some great games last night. A couple blowouts, a couple surprising blowouts, I think, in my opinion, but some really, really good football games last night as well around our state. 1A was super tight. 3A was super tight. I had Reeltown BB Comer. We'll talk about that game. That one came down to a game-winning field goal. You had Clay Chalkville and Parker was tied at halftime, and Clay Chalkville pulls away. But some really good football games last night, Corey, and this is the moment we have all been waiting for. What 14 teams were going to be sitting there celebrating, their opportunity to go and now play for a blue map and play for a state championship.
Absolutely, Caleb. Can't wait for Wednesday to get here where we start our girls flag football championships and then start with our heavyweight 7A matchup. We knew what that matchup was this time last week, and now we're sitting here with 1A through 6A decided as well. And like you mentioned, sometimes your quarters and your semifinal games wind up being better than your actual finals contest that we see in the Super 7. But a lot of close games last night, indicative congratulations to those teams who advanced and to those who finished a little short of what they wanted. You can't take anything away from the fact that you have an opportunity to make it to the semifinals. That in and of itself is tremendous strides within one's program. But man, Caleb, I mean, like you said, Tuscaloosa, Alabama this week, Super 7 in the state of Alabama. Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, going to be a ton of fun. It's always a great week for me and you to go up there and be around all of our other buddies with the AHSAA radio network that we really only get to see about 2 different weeks out of the year. With Tommy Wood and Brett Pritchard, Randy Lee, Jeremy Jeffcoat, Luke Robinson, all these different guys that are a part of it. Stacy Mills. I mean, we couldn't get it done without Stacy Mills, that's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Mills and it's always a fun week for us. We get to go be around all those guys, but people don't realize that, we call games together, we do stuff together, but we don't get to see each other a lot. And so those weeks are always fun when we have those 3 days for the Super 7, the 6 days for the finals there in Birmingham, and going to be a lot of fun to get back with everybody and have the opportunity to be with them. And Corey, you said it just now that a lot of times we get better matchups in the semifinals than we end up getting in the finals. I don't think that this year that's the case. I think that this year we're going to have some really good state championship matchups this year, 1 through 7A. Now, there's a couple that if some things go a certain way, they could turn into some blowouts. But I think for the most part, there's some years we've had 5, 6 of the games just be duds. And it's not a knock on, I mean, you got to credit the championship teams that go in there and dominate. But I think this is a year where we really have a chance to have all 7 be really good football games and games that keep people tuned in the whole entire time.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want at this point in time. I mean, you like it if, especially with it now being streamed on PBS with the AHSAA striking that deal 1 year ago to where everyone who, whether you're on Rabbit antennas or whether you have cable television, you have access to all these wonderful games. And nobody wants to see that Georgia TCU matchup to where you're switching it off in the first quarter like we did in the national championship game a year ago. You want to be enthralled and to see what these high school bands and high school cheerleaders and high school atmospheres when these communities empty into Bryant-Denny Stadium. You want to be a part of that and see what that's all about.
No doubt about it. And before we get started with our games here, Corey, want to make sure that we thank our sponsor for today, Rohogo Vacation Rentals. You can find them right there around the Gadsden area. If you're looking to go vacation, let me tell you, the northeast part of the state, one of the most beautiful parts of our state. You know, you hear us every week. We're up in Gunnersville doing our Road to the Blue Map show, and Gunnersville is a beautiful area. But just anywhere in northeast Alabama where you're at that bottom part of the Appalachian Mountains there, and you know, have the mountains to go visit and things like that, Rohogo can help you find the vacation rental of your choice and can point you in the right direction. So make sure to Google them, check out their website, check out their Facebook page, see what they can offer you. And look, it's a great time of year right now. Leaves are turning, leaves are falling, and it's a great time to go be up on the mountains and go spend a weekend up there, especially now with football starting to wrap up. You know, you won't have your Saturdays taken up with college football and all that type of stuff. So perfect time of year to go, you know, find a vacation rental, and Rohogo is the place to look to. We appreciate Wes Long and Rohogo and everybody involved there for being a part of our broadcast here with Average Joe Sports Talk and the Saturday morning recap show. So, Corey, big games last night. We're going to start with 7A. And I know we talked a little bit about this last week, but, you know, me and Bo will break this down a lot more when we do our Road to the Blue Map show on Tuesday night. But give me your thoughts. Central Phoenix City, Thompson. You look at the semifinals last week. Phoenix City wins 21-7 over Mary Montgomery. Thompson wins 21-10 over Hewitt. Very similar scores there. But you look at the beginning of the year, this Phoenix City team beat Hewitt Trussville 48-24 and really put it on them. Obviously, you can't compare scores and things like that, but I think since that game, a lot of people have, you know, and look, it's a credit to Thompson. It's kind of like Georgia right now in college football. Everybody's just looking for somebody to step up and knock them off. Somebody's looking for someone to step up and knock off Thompson. But since week one, a lot of people said, hey, maybe Phoenix City might be the best team in 7A this year, and they're going to have their opportunity now to prove that at Bryant-Denny on Wednesday night.
Absolutely. And I mean, anytime you're looking for consecutive state championships, 3 state championships, 4 state championships, and the drive for 5, you know, Coach Freeman's done a phenomenal job really setting the standard there at Thompson High School for the rest of the state in any classification. Because in the largest classification, he's not ducking and dodging anyone. And this is the type of matchup I know that we've seen a couple of years ago, and having an opportunity to see it again is something that, trust me, the Thompson fans and Coach Freeman, even though it's a totally different group of young men that are playing in this state championship game, it's something that I guarantee he has not forgotten about. And it's something that is going to make sure that he dots all his I's and crosses all his T's in regards to how he's going to approach this game. And, you know, you look at the job that Coach Nix has done running up against a hot MGM team and still finding a way to come away with a huge victory and punch their ticket once again. It's still a continued attribute to Coach Nix being able to get Central Phoenix City back to the 7A state championship. And I'm expecting a tremendous turnout, Caleb. That's what I'm excited about. I love to see the crowds and the crowd's excitement for these games. And I think that in that first day, it kind of sets the tone with the girls' flag football turning around after the girls' flag football. Then you do have that game. It's going to be a great high school environment in Bryant-Denny, and I'm looking forward to it.
For those that don't know, you see Corey walking around right now. Corey is in Atlanta and will be at the SEC championship game today. So, still taking the time to join us here on Saturday morning, and appreciate him taking the time to do that. But yeah, Corey, I agree. You know, if the game was in Auburn, we're probably looking at a little bit of a better crowd for Phoenix City, like we had a few years back. You know, where they filled up the whole one side over there, and you know, you had a ton of Thompson fans there that night as well. You know, the fact that it's going to be in Tuscaloosa, I think, may make it where you get a little bit more Thompson crowd than you do Phoenix City. But the fact that Phoenix City is going to have 2 different teams there, you got your flag football and you got your boys football, that may entice some more people to make that trip and say, hey, well, we got a reason to go watch 2 different people, plus see history be made with the girls flag football team having a chance to win a state championship. And for those that don't know, Phoenix City's girls flag, as dominant as the boys have been this year, their girls flag football team have just been unbelievable. They're 16-0. I think they've averaged beating people by over 22 points a game. And I mean, they've just been dominant. And so we've seen, Auburn got there last year. The girls flag football team won it. The boys were not able to take care of business there in the nightcap against Thompson. So for the first time, you could have a program be able to win it in both girls flag football and in boys football for the first time there at the Super Seven.
Yeah, I think that that's something that is really interesting to keep an eye on. You mentioned the crowds. I know the last couple of years, this is the third year that I can remember that there is flag football championships. And just that first year, the excitement that surrounded it, the newness, the freshness of wanting to see how it goes and how it works and how they compete. It was new for the entire state. And there was a tremendous crowd for that first game. I think it was at Protective
Mm-hmm.
Stadium when they had that first championship. And now here we're in our third year, I do believe, and the excitement to have two teams being represented. You can kind of be spoiled a little bit if you're a Thompson fan from winning four consecutive boys state championships and the drive for five. But the girls, it's a new feeling and a new experience for them. So I'm looking forward to definitely checking that game out and watching again the boys play against Central of Phoenix City. You've got elite athletes that are going to be playing on both teams. You have 1 year ago the story of America with an eighth grade quarterback stepping into varsity competition and throwing multiple state championship passes and becoming the MVP of the largest classification in the state of Alabama as an eighth grader. Well, guess what, folks? He's back as a ninth grader as well, and he's continued to improve and hone his skills against a Central of Phoenix City defense that's really stingy. They have explosive offensive players, five-star recruits, and one that verbally committed to Auburn and flipped it on yesterday. So the excitement generated by both of these programs is going to be tremendous, not only for the state, but for the ability to try to stop a dynasty in five consecutive, going for drive for five. That's amazing. In Central of Phoenix City, trying to win two out of the last maybe five or six. That's impressive in and of itself, also, Caleb.
No doubt about it. I mean, Corey, like I said, me and Bo are going to talk about it Tuesday night with our Road to the Blue Map show. But give me your big keys in this game. You saw this Phoenix City team take on Mary Montgomery. What are some ways that you feel like they're going to be able to attack this Thompson group to try to, you want to call it an upset, but it really, to me, if they do win, it wouldn't be an upset. But just the fact that Thompson's won 4 straight state championships makes it feel like an upset. And so, what are some of the things you feel like Phoenix City will have to do in order to try to pull out a win against Thompson?
Go ahead and have explosive plays. They're going to have to not turn the football over, and they're going to have great field position. I think that Mary G. Montgomery was able to drive the football down the field with them and got down to the 1 yard line and big defensive stop for Central and Phoenix City on first and goal, turning MGM away. But they're going to have to limit the explosive plays by Thompson. They're also going to have to make sure they control that field position. To me, field position in Super Sevens, and I want to say it like I've been saying it these last few weeks, special teams play is huge in these championship ball games. And having a great punter or missing an extra point, those type of things can come back and bite you in the battle for field position, especially in 7A football.
No doubt about it, Corey. Going to be very interesting to see what happens there on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, live from Bryant Denny. That'll be your 7A matchup. You can hear myself and Bo break that game down even more on Tuesday night there with our Road to the Blue Map show that we'll have Tuesday up in Gunnersville starting at 6 p.m. So make sure to tune in on Tuesday. You can get Bo's take on that game, and should be a lot of fun as we get set to head up to Bryant Denny on Wednesday. So shifting our focus now, Corey, we're going to move on to 1A and talk about Leroy over Elba, 27-24, getting a late touchdown last night. If you were keeping up with scores on the score app, it actually had a final 24-20 of Elba winning at one point, and they had to re-update it. And all of a sudden, you find out that Leroy wins on a late touchdown. And Corey, you've kind of talked about this group has gone through as much as they have this year. The coach having to go and be on active duty. They lose him at the beginning of the season. We're on a 19-game winning streak now, and have just found ways to win. And that was a really good Elba team that they beat last night, and a very good running back that they were able to hold to 24 points, which you hear 24 and you go, that's not really that low. Well, let me tell you, against a team like Elba that has a guy like Alvin Henderson, that's a low point total for
Yeah.
Elba. And really good job last night by the Leroy Bears of just finding a way to win and now having an opportunity to defend their state championship.
Yeah, I mean that part in and of itself with their coach having to go to active duty, that kind of would throw a wrench in anyone's plans. But you see the resiliency of not only the program but of the assistant coaches and the entire community having a reason to rally around a coach who has to go serve their country. And I think that that's huge for this program to make it back to the state championship and have an opportunity to defend it. And coach is going to be there in spirit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's not going to be able to physically be there, you just know that these Leroy Bears are playing for a purpose, and that purpose is for their head coach and coming back and showing themselves the way they did. That part is awesome as well.
Coosa Christian, they get the win over Pickens County 21-12, a rematch of last year's semifinals in 1A in the North that saw Pickens throwing up a Hail Mary at the end. And, kind of controversial if the guy was in or not to some people. And, I know some people that were standing down by the goal line. They claimed he wasn't in. He was ruled not in. And the refs talked it over, and they ruled he was in. And it was a bunch of chaos. Coosa Christian had this circle. They wanted to get back to this moment. I don't think they really cared who the opponent was, but I think they were also not disappointed that it was Pickens, that they got an opportunity to play in the semifinals. But a big win there for Coosa Christian. And Corey, I don't know if you know this, but Marco Bryant, the head coach for Coosa Christian, he also served our country in the military as well. And so I would love to know how many state championship matchups we've had between two coaches who have served our country. And then I know we've definitely never had one where you have one that's actually on active duty at the moment going against a coach who previously served our country as well. So kind of a cool little storyline and tidbit with that matchup there in the 1A state championship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this 1A state championship. And Caleb, in the past 7 or 8 years, as I've been able to join you guys with the AHSAA radio network, it's been one of those, you see in Mobile, Alabama, we don't have a lot of 1A programs. And because we don't have a lot of 1A programs, you see with the 2A programs that we do have down in Mobile, the ability to play a lot of guys both ways. And it's just like Ironman football. And that's one of the things that when that roster comes out, you may see a 26-man roster. You may see a 30-man roster. And if you're lucky in 1A, you'll see 40. But you see so many of these smaller classification schools have teams, have young men that play both ways, lead them in rushing. The quarterback is also the strong safety. He's also the punter. And it just goes to show that, yes, you can get it done for 48 minutes in the smallest classification as well at an elite level. And this is going to be no different. The 1A state championship game that we're going to be treated to.
Yeah, going to be a very fun one. You look at Coosa Christian defensively this year, Corey, they've just been unbelievable. And, they went a streak of from September the 1st all the way until the first round of the playoffs without giving up a touchdown defensively. And just unbelievable. Now they have given up a couple here as they've gotten into some better competition, but they've still been able to do enough defensively to hold teams to 12 or under and have done enough offensively. But they're going to have their work cut out for them with a team that we talked about. They've found ways to win in certain moments this year. It's the first. What's crazy enough is that is the first win for Leroy on this 19-game win streak that was not by double digits. I mean, that's incredible.
Wow.
They had won 18 straight by double digits, and that includes a state championship last year against Pickens, includes the semis, they're running the playoffs, and then every game this year they had won by double digits. And to me, that's what makes last night impressive. I kept telling Bo, because Bo was favoring Leroy, and I kept telling him, I was like, they're going to get to Elba, and Elba's going to be able to put some pressure on them. They're going to get them in a tight game for the first time, and we're going to have to see how Leroy responds. Well, we found out last night they didn't let the close game put too much pressure on them. They just found a way to go out and get a win. That's what championship teams do. And so big credit to Leroy, and then big congratulations to Coach Marco Bryant and his Coosa Christian Conquerors. what a job he's done there, building that program up. I saw it back when he first started. It was not what it is right now. They've built an indoor facility at the. He went upstairs in their gym and saw this big space. They have a huge space upstairs that they were basically using as an attic. And he looked around. He goes, "Hey, we can use this." And they've put turf in there. They've put their weight room up there. They've got an indoor cage up there. I mean, they basically just got their own indoor facility just by out of being able to look around and say, "Hey, we can fix this up to have what we want and what we need without having to build anything or do anything." And he talked about it with us on Road to the Blue Map. They've raised all the money for it. He goes, some people think private schools, and I coach at a private school right now with baseball, and I can tell you, you don't just have a bunch of donors walking around saying, "Here, what do you need? We'll pay you." It doesn't work like that. You got to go work to raise the money, and he's done that. He doesn't get paid to be the coach there. A lot of people don't know that. He doesn't take a salary. He's just done it because he's wanted to build this program up and help them get to this level. And now they're going to have their opportunity to go take on the King and the Leroy Bears and go knock them off the defending champs and try to get a 1A state championship. But what a great job they've done this year. They got, they're heartbroken in the semifinals and then now find their way to get back to this game, take care of business this time in emphatic fashion, and now get into the state championship and have a chance to go play for a Blue Map.
Caleb, is this their first ever state championship football appearance?
Yes.
So, I mean, again, we've seen it, with teams that make it multiple times, whether it was in the Hoover dynasty or now in the Thompson dynasty. Sometimes you always want to witness that first. And when it comes around to trying to witness that second, you don't get as much turnout as you did the first go round. So I'm expecting a great turnout for that 1A game because Leroy, they shut it down in Leroy.
Yeah.
That entire community shuts down. So I'm quite sure it'll be the same way in North Alabama.
Going to be very interesting. I think, I won't be shocked to have a lot of people from the Gadsden area that maybe make the trip over to come support Coosa Christian. I mean, they're right up the road from Gadsden City. They're right up the road from Etowah there in Attala. Really right up the road from Southside Gadsden. And, look, to me, it'd be a huge accomplishment for that little area right there. It hasn't had any state championships recently. You've had Etowah get extremely close, and, Gadsden City had a great year this year getting to the third round, but would be a good accomplishment, I think, for that little area, the Rainbow City, Attala area right there in Gadsden, to have a state champion. And so, won't be surprised to see a lot of people from that area go over and go support on Thursday. It's a Thursday afternoon game. And plus, there's some people there's a lot of people that probably didn't get to go to Bryant-Denny this year, Corey. And so this is, this next week's going to be a good opportunity for some people to go make a trip to Bryant-Denny and go be in Bryant-Denny Stadium for the first time this year as an Alabama fan or whatever, and get to check that out also. So it's a fun deal. They do the Walk of Champions the same way the college team does, and they try to make it a fun atmosphere. When it's at Auburn, they do Tiger Walk, which is obviously a really cool thing for them there, and they try to incorporate a lot of the college game day traditions with this Super 7, and that makes it a lot of fun for these kids. And so, especially for these guys from a 1A school, we're going to talk about Saraland and Ramsey and something. Ramsey plays at Legion Field every day, so going to Bryant-Denny is not going to be. I mean, what I'm saying is like being in a big stadium with a video board and all that. That's not going to be as big of a deal. But when you're talking about Leroy and Coosa Christian and some of these 1A, 2As, and 3As that don't normally get to play in big stadiums like this is going to be a big deal and going to be a lot of fun for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The AHSAA has done a phenomenal job of making this truly an experience, not only for the players, not only for the coaches, but for the fans as well, to feel that they are actually a part of this game day experience on a college environment like Jordan-Hare Stadium or like Bryant-Denny Stadium or like Protective Stadium in Birmingham. So truly a great pleasure for the school and all of its representatives to be able to be a part of that.
I just got a text from Bo. Corey said he'll be on right here in a minute. So when he comes back, we'll get his thoughts on that Coosa Christian game last night and let him talk about that a little bit and what it means for them to make the state championship. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to 2A and talk about the 2A classification here. And you look at Fife and Pisgah last night, Corey. I watched a little bit of that game, and Pisgah, the one thing we said, Pisgah's going to have to play better defense. Well, they did that last night. You got to give Luke Pruitt and his group credit for doing that, and they held this Fife offense down about as long as they could, and just wasn't able to produce enough offensively. They got a big interception. Fife was driving to go make it 16-0. They were up 8-0. Pisgah gets an interception, but then they get a block in the back penalty that brought it all. They would have been down on the 5-10, and instead they're back on their own side of the field due to the block in the back. And it was just kind of little mistakes and little things like that just added up for them last night and really prevented them from ever getting there. And then Fife finally made it 16-0. And once that happened, you could feel that it was just kind of getting too far away from Pisgah late in the ball game last night. But it's disappointing, I know, if you're a Pisgah Eagle fan, because it's now 2 years in a row that you're 0-4 against Fife over the last 2 years, and they've beaten you in the regular season. They've beaten you in the semifinals. But one thing that you have to say, Corey, is if you're a Pisgah fan, you got to be proud of what you've accomplished over the last 2 years. Obviously, you would like to go get to a state championship, but there's a lot of other teams and a lot of other kids out there that would love the opportunity just to play in a semifinal game. And what they've been able to do over the last 2 years has been impressive. And I think with Luke Pruitt there at Pisgah, the future is very bright for that football program, and I think things are really just getting going there.
I mean, we talked about it a week ago. Anytime you're practicing for Thanksgiving, you're doing something right within your program. And that in and of itself can be historical. And you just have to keep knocking at the door, keep knocking at the door, and keep knocking at the door, because it's not like Fife is that program that is a one-hit wonder. They're that dude, they're that team in their classification that is hard to get over that hump. But sooner or later, I mean, you keep knocking on the door and it's going to be open for you, and it's going to make it even that much more sweeter for your program. But another great matchup there in 2A, and Fife just continues to do Fife things.
Welcome in, Bo. Appreciate you
Hey, what's up, brother?
Good morning, brother. Good morning.
I have all kind of difficulties.
Nice.
Hold on.
There we
Having all
go.
kind of difficulties. There we go.
All right, yeah, all right. Now we got you. Kind of. Lift it up a little bit. There we go.
Hold on one second. I'll get it figured out in just a second.
Hey, Bo, we've already talked about 1A, but, real quickly, kind of just want to get your thoughts. Hey, great win for Leroy last night. I told Corey the one thing I told you is we're going to find out when they play Elba, they're going to get tested a little bit, and we'll see. Leroy had been easy for them, winning by double digits, all these different games. How impressed were you last night to see them? They're down late in the ball game. They've been used to blowing people out, and yet they're still able to find a way to get a late score and win that football game and find themselves back in the state championship.
I was very impressed with Leroy, but the old Rudy Tomjanovich quote come into play to me. They never underestimate a heart of the champion, because I don't think I think not enough people was giving them credit around the state. And there's an underdog for 2 weeks in a row. Remember, there's an underdog to Georgiana. There's an underdog this week. I think that's blatant disrespect for them. And with what they went through with their coach being gone and stuff, I think it was poetic justice, so to speak, that they won that game. And shout out to their players too, because a lot of times when that kind of stuff can implode a team. When people are talking negatively about you, it can fuel you up so much that it actually ruins your team. But shout out to them for keeping their focus and winning that game.
Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on AHSAA Christian last night. They really dominate Pickens County. I don't think the score really indicates how dominant they were in that game. Defensively, obviously, what they've done, you got to give Teddy a lot of credit for what he's been able to do since he took over there on the defense side of the ball for Coach Marco Bryant. And, I told Corey, how about this storyline, Bo? You got Marco Bryant, who served our country and was in the military himself, and then taking on a team who has a coach currently on active duty in the military as well. I doubt that we've ever had a situation like that take place in the AHSAA.
But it's no mystery why those two teams are in the state championship game either, because of the discipline and the things, the intangibles that they bring as a coach to a team. But yeah, it's an incredible storyline. There ain't no doubt about it. Somebody needs to do a story on it. I think Average Joe's needs to. But yeah, last night I went to Comer in Real Town, and then I left. and went to Coosa for the second half. But I'm gonna tell you something, Caleb. Defensively, they played their guts out. I mean, they played really well defensively, and they were making it really hard for Pickens to move the ball. I got to talk to Michael Williams after the game for like 20, 30 minutes outside the locker room, and he was real complimentary of Coosa and said that he thinks that they got a great shot in the state game because how sound they are everywhere. And but offensively they sputtered at moments, and at halftime, Alaric pulled them into the locker room and told them, "We're not doing what we set out to do, which was be physical and run the ball right at them." And that's what they did in the second half. And it was just really impressive to see how they closed that game out. And I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm going to throw a stat at both of y'all. In 2019, which was 4 years ago, I think they gave up 540 points in a season.
Mm.
And right now they're sitting on 70 or 60, no, 50 something. Something like that, 50, 60 something. But they gave up 540 something yards in 10 games in 2019. So from that to this, that's pretty impressive.
No, there's no doubt about that. And we just got done right when you were coming on, Bo. We were talking about Fife and Pisgah last night. Look, we talked about it during the week on our Road to the Blue Map show. We said, Pisgah's going to have to step up defensively. We thought that they were going to be able to score more. We kind of felt like, hey, look, it's a given. They're going to get right around 30 points in the ball game. So big credit to Coach Paul Benefield, his defense, and what they were able to do, making some adjustments from that first game where they gave up 42 to last night only giving up 14. But Pisgah hung around. They kept themselves close. I was watching on NFHS Network. It was 8-0. Fife's driving. They throw an interception. Pisgah gets a huge return, but they get a block in the back. And it kind of felt like when that happened, that just kind of took the wind out of their sails. And just you could kind of see just from the reactions, it's like, man, nothing can go right for us tonight. And that's just kind of what it felt like for Pisgah last night.
Yeah, man, the group of seniors that Pisgah has done that they have there has really changed the program and the mindset about that team statewide, because they've done it. Man, they've done it through hard work, and they've stayed in there and they've battled. And they used to take a lot of lumps when they were young, but as they grew up, they started handing out a lot of lumps. And it's just that it's a saying in North Alabama. Well, it's a saying in the whole state, really. We were so good and we went so far, but we ran into Fife. You hear that all the time. Like I hear it everywhere I go in 2A. Man, we were rolling that year until. I hear that. But things in Pisgah's situation, they played them 4 times in 2 years, man. That's tough. And I hate it for Coach Luke Pruitt. I wish we had a winner on in every format, but I know that ain't how life is. But man, the job he's done up there, he's done a phenomenal job. Any school would be crazy not to think that guy's head coaching material. So I wonder if somebody has not came in and offered him some deal, or they may have. He may have just turned it down. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, he's done a fantastic job there. You got to give him a lot of credit. It's like me and Corey were talking about earlier. It's disappointing when you don't make it, but they need to be proud of what they've done over the last 2 years. I mean, it's been one team standing in their way, and it's a pretty good team. It's a dynasty right now, what Coach Paul Benefield's built at Fife. But there's a lot of other kids, a lot of other programs that would love to just get into the position they've been in the last 2 years, playing in the semifinals. And so that's something to be proud of. They beat a really good Tuscaloosa Academy team last week to get to this point. And, it's going to take some time. It always stings, especially when it's early. But I think when this group really gets to step back now, especially these seniors who are done, when they really step back and look back at the last 2-3 years, they're going to realize they've done something really special, especially there at Pisgah, a place that really wasn't known for winning a lot in football. And I think they've now set the foundation and set the standard for that program under Luke Pruitt. And like I told Corey, I think this is just the beginning for them. You're seeing a program that's on the rise, and they're going to get over that hump here soon.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff, man. I can tell you that. If their football catches up with their basketball, they're going to be a monster.
There's no doubt about that. So you mentioned Reeltown BB Comer. I called that game last night. You were at it for a little bit. Bo, we talked about it during the week. This was an even matchup between these two teams. You looked at the scores against common opponents. You looked at the stats and the quarterback statistics were not very far apart. The rushing statistics for neither team. were very far apart. And the defense is, I mean, it was two very evenly matched teams, and the game showed that last night. It was 28-28. It was an even game for the first 47 minutes and 59 seconds of that game. Reeltown just happened to make one more play, doing something they had not done all year. Reeltown had not kicked a field goal in a game the whole entire season, and they do it with 1 second left last night. It hits off the upright, goes through, and the Reeltown Rebels move on to go play Fife for the 2A state championship. But what a great football game last night, a game that we had been hyping up for a long time, saying, hey, look, it's going to come down to Comer and Reeltown. It's Comer and Reeltown. And the game lived up to the hype and lived up to what our expectations were for that game.
Yeah, that game was unbelievable. Even the moments I was there watching the first half, just the amount of collisions out there, the amount of athletes out there, the amount, the crowds on both sides. It had one of those state championship type feels to it. It was like a do or die every play, man. And the stars shined last night, but man, Matt Johnson, dude, I mean, to go from that game that they had against Fife a few years ago to being back in a situation to not only go back to the state championship, but get to rematch with Fife, he's got to be feeling, the whole town of Reeltown's got to be feeling amazing right now, because when we interviewed him last week, he never brought up the previous game. I never brought it up. He talked just positively about this team and this group of guys, and what it was going to take to beat BB Comer and how they had gotten to this point. And he never mentioned that game, which lets me know that maybe it's kind of out of their head, but it's going to have to be, because last thing you want to do is have a hangover from many years back going into that game. You know what I mean, Caleb?
Yeah, and Bo, me and my broadcast partner last night, we talked about it. Look, Kamor Harris, there was no doubt who the best player on the field was last night. And it was Kamor Harris for BB Comer. He's going to Memphis. Right now, he's going as a running back, but you can tell me what you thought, Bo. When we watched him play defensively, that guy's got a chance to go be a middle linebacker at the next level and be one of the more special ones. And I know he probably wants to tote the rock and run the football and do all that, but I'm telling you, his instincts defensively and his knowledge of understanding how to fill gaps and how to, cut off people with getting, to the edge and all that type of stuff. If they do put him on the defense side of the ball, I think that guy's got a very good chance to go be a special middle linebacker at the next level.
The reason he's going to Memphis is because they're letting him play running back. Everybody else wants him as a linebacker, but he wants to play running back. Hey, look, Caleb, people may laugh if I say this, but I'm just going to say it. The dude's got a chance to go to the next level after that at linebacker, I think, because of his frame, his instincts. And if you ever watch his hips, he's got good hips. He's got it all. And if anybody don't think that dude can hit, look at the hit he had on Ryder Gibson in the state championship game against Fife, where I thought he was dead. Really, I did. He didn't move. The mouthpiece flew out 20 yards, and I was like, "Jesus, is he all right?" I thought he was dead or something bad was wrong. But no, I think he could go to the next level after college. To the NFL as a linebacker, because he's got all the intangibles. He's got instincts. He's got a mind. He's got contact is his middle name. We've seen it time and again with kids as the game draws on, they start shying away from Fife. There's been two kids who is actively looking for Fife kids late in the fourth quarter, and he's one of them. That didn't shy away one bit, and the other one was TJ Bull Dudley from Catholic Montgomery. So that when you start saying that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff you want to see as a college coach, But yeah, I think he could go to the NFL. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny or nothing.
No, I agree with you. I mean, as good as he is running the ball, and he's a very good running back. And there was time, I think the biggest thing that Coach Fawcett will look back on, Bo, is they had a fourth down opportunity last night, 4th and 4. If you get it, you keep the drive going. It'd be a drive to put them in position to maybe kick a field goal and win the game. It's about 1:50 left to go. And they don't put the ball in Kamor Harris's hands. They end up throwing the football, and it wasn't a bad design play. It was actually a great play by Tay Martin, the DB there. And I mean, Tay Martin for Reeltown, he stood out last night. If Kamor Harris was the best player on the field, Tay Martin was easily the second best player on the field. I mean, 2 one-handed catches on the opening drive of the game, going for a
Number
touchdown.
12, Caleb? Number 12?
Yeah. Took a speed sweep for a touchdown early in the game. And and then made the biggest play of the night there defensively, knocking the ball away. But I think when they look back at it, that may be a regret for them, is not putting the ball in their best player's hands, Kamora Harris, because there were times last night where it's 3rd and 4, it's 3rd and 3, and he's hitting the backfield, and he just was determined to go get a first down, and that may be something they look back at and just go, looking back now, we probably should just put the ball in his hands and let him go make a play. And they had a lot of success with Devin Harvey running the quarterback, dive right up the middle out of the shotgun last night. And I said it last night, Reeltown's going to have to fix that this week, because that's exactly what Fife is going to do. They're going to come right at them, right up the middle. They're going to use quarterback dive. They're going to use halfback dive right up the middle. And Reeltown's going to have to make some adjustments, because they really struggled when Comer decided to do that with them last night.
Yeah, they're going to get a heaping dose of that, and they're going to get by an animal too. In fact, I don't have to tell you how good Anderson is. They're going to get a ton of that. I think the thing's going to be, can they stop Reeltown on the other side? Mm-hmm. That's going to be, to me, that's going to be where the two teams, because Reeltown, man, they got guys on the edge, and that's what's scary if you're Fife, is to see what these guys have out wide. And obviously they got a 2,000-yard runner in Ash, but they seem to throw it pretty well. Their line's very big. I was taking pictures of their line last night. I was like, heck, man. I remember 2A football back in the 90s, and I was like, you had a 170-pound guy out there, 165 maybe. And these dudes look like they weigh about 240, 250, the smaller
number 50 for Reeltown is 6 foot, 285 pounds, playing the offensive and defensive line at 2A football. I mean, you don't get that very often.
That's the kind of pad level you want, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, like in high school football, yeah, in college you want these 6'5", 360s, but in high school, give me the bowling ball.
No doubt.
Get your pads low and take off.
Corey, what was your reaction last night, seeing that final score there, Reeltown 31, BB Comer 28, and finding out that it was, on a walk-off field goal?
Yeah, I mean, you guys talked about it. The showdown was coming between these two teams, and the fact that, again, Caleb and Bo, you're going to continue to hear me talk about this even through next week when we have state championship winners. How many of these games come down to special teams? And for the football to hit the upright and to get through it, it doesn't matter how it got done. At the end of the day, that's a special teams touchdown or a special teams field goal that is the difference in the game. And that's the kind of finishes that you love to see. Both of these programs, like both said, is leaving all your guts out there on the field. Special teams once again after losing on play for 2 days.
Well, I'm going to move on now to 3A and talk about the 3A matchups here. And Bo, tough one for Geraldine last night. They had the lead late, 43-42. Madison Academy is able to get a late touchdown to win the football game, and a heartbreaker there for the Geraldine Bulldogs. But Michael Davis deserves a ton of credit for the type of season they had this year. They open up the year with big win over Coosa Christian, who's playing for a state championship. They get a win over Fife, who's playing for a state championship. And then they themselves were really one play away from playing for a state championship as well.
Yeah, man, you talk about a heartbreaker. Man, they were winning late. They got the ball for turnover. I think they were in a situation where they're just trying to kill some clock and end up losing that game. From what I understand, I didn't get to see it on NFHS. I don't know if you did, but golly. Yeah, I talked to Alyssa, man. She may be watching it now. It's Carlos. Her and I texted last night. I just texted her to check on Carlos to see how he was doing, and she said, "Hey, Bo, I mean, he left everything he had out on that field, and he felt bad for his teammates, the other seniors, and they was just sickening, that this kind of character Carlos, man, has. He was thinking more about his guys than himself in that situation." And I asked her how Coach Davis was, and she said he was kind of quiet and numb after the game, which rightfully so. Caleb, we were fortunate enough to go in and talk to him this week, and he made light of how great a season it's been to this point. And it's only the second time in history they've been to the semifinals, period, and the first time since 2000. So they've had an unbelievable season. And I don't know if you've seen the sign one of the fans made. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It said public school state champs. That's funny. But you are going up against them. Yeah, they're not wrong, and I mean you're going up against some some very good football teams, and two of which was in the South last week that played each other, and we'll talk about them in a second. But you're going up against another monster up here that's been a staple of North Alabama football for the last I don't know since early 2000s, the Madison Academy. And but he was real complimentary of them. He didn't make no excuses, and he said, "I think we can play with them." And he said, "I look for it to be a four-quarter game, but I just hate it for their seniors because they have a group of seniors that's really good, and they're going to be really good in basketball too. So I think we're definitely going to see them in Jacksonville in basketball. So boy, it's just that physicality goes a long way in these playoffs, don't you think, Caleb? I mean, teams like them, like Sylvania, like Fife, like Pisgah, that's from that area, that just the physicality takes them through these playoffs.
Corey, we spent a lot of the year kind of talking about the defense of Mobile Christian, the defense of Madison Academy, and the numbers, how impressive they were. But now all of a sudden, over the last 2 weeks, we've kind of seen some chinks in the armor on the defensive side of the ball with both of those teams. And it took the offense of really stepping up for Mobile Christian to get a win over St. James last night.
Yeah, I mean, you want a turnover fest, and St. James, with their quarterback being verbally committed to play for Arkansas, anytime you're SEC commitment, you're going to have your hands full, and that's exactly what the Leopards had last night. But when you get a chance to play a team that beat you 1 year ago, and to kind of right that wrong, you lift those weights for 364 days knowing that, hey, this is the opportunity that I've been waiting for. And Mobile Christian got out to a fairly large lead, but no quit in St. James, and gave Mobile Christian all they could handle. Comes down to an onside kick, and the final score 34-30, and the execution down the stretch was not crisp for Mobile Christian. But you're talking about big offensive linemen. This is a 3A program to across the line, offensive line wise, probably averages 285 up front. So when you can have that type of beef on the offensive line at the 3A level, you're going to be able to protect your quarterback. You're going to be able to create holes. Mobile Christian doesn't want to get into any type of shootouts. They love to score more than you do, of course. But Ronnie Cottrell has just been patient and just been knocking on the door, and had the coach last night from the press box because he had eye surgery. And I know that, he's hungry with this Leopard team, and nobody really gave them the expectation to be where they are with the transfers that occurred before the season even started.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to ask you about, is just how impressive of a coaching job you felt like this was from Coach Ronnie Cottrell. I mean, Sterling Dixon leaves, and there was others that left as well. I mean, obviously he's the biggest name that left them, but a couple others that left as well. And to manage those losses and still get this team to this point and find a way to win last night, you got to give him a ton of credit for what he's done. I know you're going to have some people that come out and talk about the private schools and all that stuff, but you still have to go out and play the game and win the game on the field. And they did just that, and they played another private school last night and had to get it done. They had to eke it out against a public school as well. And I mean, so you got to go win the games. They've done just that, and they've had their fair share of adversity throughout this season to get through. And to me, he's had some good teams. They got there with Deontay Lawson a couple years ago and played against Piedmont. This may be one of the more impressive coaching jobs from Coach Ronnie Cottrell, getting his group into the state championship.
Yeah, I really think it is. And you mentioned the fact that, Coach Cottrell, no stranger to state championship games. I think this is his third appearance, and the last two have come up a little bit short for the Leopards. And this is one of that's truly, no superstars, just truly an all-around team effort, offense, defense, and special teams. And, I know that they don't want red to be that color that they bring home, but at the same time, just making it and having the opportunity to still be practicing, to still be playing, speaks volumes of what they've been able to accomplish this season.
So moving on now, we're going to talk about 4A, and I mean, Booker T was on a great run. They had gotten a few upsets in there, but wasn't going to happen last night against Montgomery Catholic. They played a little bit better defensively than they did in their first matchup this season. That saw them get beat. I think it was like 56-6, but just wasn't able to get anything on the board in 2 games against this group. That's still, I mean, giving up right at 5 points per game there at Montgomery Catholic. And Cherokee County, big win for them last night, 50-6, but you know, and I know, Bo, they're going to have their work cut out for them going against this defensive group from Montgomery Catholic next week.
Yeah, man, this is going to be an old-fashioned backyard brawl, so to speak, with these two hooked up because, as you know, Caleb, we do a coaching show each week with Coach Kelly, so we know their program inside and out. You know, I talk to Juice weekly. I know his program inside and out. The job that Juice has done there with everybody talking about Handley and Andalusia and Jackson and Jacksonville and Bibb County and everybody but them is the best coaching job he's done so far as a head coach, without question. He's done it quietly, and he's done it with 2 different things. He's done it with defense and, again, with running the football. And he's got a superstar in Caleb McCreary there who without a doubt, is one of the best football players who's played in the state's history statistically. You can't argue it. I don't know how many total yards and how many total touchdowns. It's well over 10,000, well over 130 or something touchdowns he's got. But he makes him play what they need from him. He don't just turn him loose to go throw the ball. He makes him run the ball. He plays within the system. So the job he's done there is phenomenal. It's not done yet. And I know for a fact, when he looks across that field and he sees Jacob Kelly and those Cherokee Indians, Cherokee Warriors, they're going to have their hands full with Jacob Cornejo and the way Cherokee plays defense. But I'm gonna tell you, man, it's a matchup of 2 really good coaches and 2 groups of young men that's bought into their programs. And I look for that to be an absolute war. If you do not like physicality, you may not want to tune into this one because they're going to be, I'm telling you, Caleb, there are going to be some pads popping in that one.
Yeah, it's going to be smash mouth football. Corey,
oh, my God.
You give me your opinion on this matchup here. Montgomery Catholic, big win last night, 28-0. Cherokee County, 50-6 over Westminster. I mean, that's Brandon Mush there on the other side there for Westminster. They held him to 6 points last night. Pretty impressive and really stands out heading into next week.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Slobberknocker football getting ready to come forward to the championship game there at the 4A level. And you look at Montgomery Catholic, they were licking their chops for an opportunity to see the Jackson Aggies. And because they didn't see them, they said, okay, well, this Booker T. Washington team is a team that we probably match up well with. And they showed why they are the team that they are right now, Montgomery Catholic, in regards to their record and their success. And you look on the other side of the Cherokee County, I don't get a chance to see a lot of North Alabama football until this time of year. But what has impressed me is the fact that this time of year, when you can get to semifinal action and score 50 points and hold your opponent to 6, that means you executed your game plan to a T. And you wanted to kind of save some of that juice for the Super 7. So some of these scores, you're like, man, y'all are able to score all these points in the semifinal game, and then you turn around and it's low scoring in the Super 7. But that just goes to show the great job that Cherokee County did in the preparation that the Warriors had against Westminster. And kudos to what's going to be a tremendous 4A state championship game.
Hey, Caleb, you got an X factor in that game. Them playing Mush this week, you couldn't script a better person for them to prepare against than what they're about to face in Caleb McCreary. That's an X factor in that game. A guy who can run and throw as well as he did, because Caleb can do the exact same thing. I know I'm no disrespect to Westminster, but I know Caleb's got a lot more around him than Mush did at Westminster. So you couldn't script a better player to prepare for the Super 7 than to play a Mush before you play Caleb McCreary.
I agree with you on that. I think another thing, Catholic's going to be a little bit better up front than what Westminster was, for sure. On defensive line.
Caleb, I think they're giving up 5.1 points per game now, maybe. 5. I mean, they're right there with Coosa. I mean, it's back and forth for who's giving up the less points per game this season. It's unbelievable how they're playing defensively.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It's
everybody said, you know, a lot of people, the haters said during the season, I seen it on the big message boards and on some other sites. They were like, well, they're not playing nobody. Well, they are. Are they still not playing nobody? I mean, they're going to the state championship game. Are they still not playing nobody and they're still not giving up 6 points a game? Well, who do you want them to play? The Packers? I mean, who do you want across the field? Who do they got to play to give them credit for their defense?
No, I agree with you. I mean, you know, they make other teams look not good. I mean, this is a big Booker
Yeah.
T team that had beaten Hanley, had beaten Jackson, had
Yeah.
upset and had gotten hot, and they hold them to 0 last night, and the game was never really close. And that's what good teams do. They make it look like it's a mismatch. You know, I mean, like last year, Oregon was a pretty good football team, but how did Georgia make them look at the beginning of the year, beating them 49-3? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
TCU wasn't a bad football team. Georgia beat them 65-7. So sometimes just the better, you know, when you're that good, you make other teams look not as good, and they're just that inferior to you, you know. And I mean, Notre Dame back in 2012, they were really good that year. Alabama beat them 42-14 in the national championship. I mean, you know, when these teams are on a different level than some of these other teams, they make it look like that they're not playing anybody because they're just that much better. And I think that's been the case for Catholic now for a while. And a lot of people love to doubt them, love to say, you know, they say the same stuff about Fife and stuff too, and yet Fife gets there and wins it every single year.
Right. Anytime you think you're good, get on them sticks and get on the headset and get on there with Corey LaBounty on Madden. You'll see how good you are. You'll see how good you are. You just find out what the run rule is. What's the score rule? And we're gonna
Swag rule. We're going to swag rule. Well, swag rule.
a SWAC rule. Well, we need to establish that before we kick off here.
It should be a fun 4A matchup. Cherokee County, Montgomery Catholic. Congrats to Coach Jacob Kelly, Cherokee County, getting it back again. Now, second year in a row that they will compete for a state championship. So, looking at 5A, Bo, said it last week. You know, I had Dake Rivers, that's the defense coordinator for Eufaula, that tuned in, and shout out to him for doing a great job and getting them to that point. But we kind of knew they were going to have their work cut out for them, and they did last night with Gulf Shores trying to stop this offense. And everybody thought going into the year it'd be Ronnie Royal that we'd talk about running the football and doing all this stuff, and Ronnie Royal's basically playing defense only now for this Gulf Shores team because they've had another running back step up and really take over for them. Had over 200 yards rushing last night. And it just felt like looking at Gulf Shores that it was a statement win from them last night heading into this state championship matchup with Ramsey.
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, what they've been doing is incredible. And I know Corey's going to know probably a little bit more than I do about them. But, you know, there's so much stuff, negative stuff has been said about Gulf Shores. And I'm going to tell you right now, Caleb, they beat a really good Eufaula team last night.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they did it, they kind of left no doubt. So that matchup they're about to have with Coach Jackson and the Ramsey Rams, I don't think you could script a better 5A matchup. But I'm going to tell you this, we'll get into Ramsey whenever we get to their breakdown. Gulf Shores better be ready to play because I'm telling you right now, Ramsey is the real deal, homie.
No, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that's a pretty good Gunnersville team that they played last night. And,
that is a very good team they played.
Kind of dismantled them, honestly. And, it's the speed from Ramsey. Corey, I think that may be one of the things that you tell me what you think. I know it's a good region. Yeah, I know it's a good region down there, Corey, and there's good speed from BC Rain and Faith and Viger and some of these teams down there. But I do not think that Gulf Shores has faced a team that's going to have as much speed and ability with their skill positions as what Ramsey is going to bring at them next week.
And see, this is why I love the opportunity to speak on the strength of 5A Region 1. And this is what is ultimately going to prepare Gulf Shores for the type of team that they're going to be facing with Ramsey. Because Gulf Shores, you mentioned the BC Rains of the world. Yes, they have some flat-out flyers. Viger has guys that are on the state relay state championship team. And you don't win the 5A relay 4x100 relay state championship team if you don't have speed, and that same speed is on the football field for Viger. So I think that when you look at Gulf Shores, the execution is going to be a factor. They're going to be able to handle Ramsey's speed. And the dominance in which Gulf Shores won last night, that's what impressed me the most. I mean, they absolutely handled them from start to finish and kept their foot on the throat of the Eufaula Tigers. And you mentioned when you start having Ronnie Royal, who used to have to play both sides of the football, when you can keep him fresh just for special teams and defensive purposes, and Mr. Wilson, who had 4 or 5 touchdowns rushing the football, this is a team that is very well coached. They're tremendously deep in regards to the staff that they have available to them. Their preparation, Mark Hudspeth, he's a former Division I head football coach. So he's played in those big games. He's seen what it takes. Coaches that are around him have played and coached on the Division I level. He has a college coaching staff with him, and the job that they've been able to do, despite all of the criticism and all of the distractions that went into the final week of the season, whether Gulf Shores was going to be eliminated from the playoffs or not, they just wanted to prove all naysayers wrong and say, hey, look, let's just go out here and win the whole thing, and we'll put it all to rest by becoming state champions. One more test getting past Ramsey, but the speed in 5A Region 1 will have and has prepared them for what they're going to see in Ramsey.
But we talked about it a little bit, but I mean, Ramsey 35, Gunnersville 14. It kind of felt, Ramsey got up, I think it was 28-0 at one point. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like I saw that. And it kind of felt like once they got up that big, they kind of just shut it down and said, hey, we're going to keep some things close to the vest for next week and just kind of slow this thing down and make sure we get into next week healthy. But this Ramsey team's going to have a very good opportunity to present a lot of problems for Gulf Shores defensively. Cameron Keenan there at quarterback, and obviously you got Ashton back there at running back, who was the MVP of last year's championship game there, and Ashton Ashford. And then you just got so much speed on the outside from this team as well. But I really think that this game's going to be won or lost up front. If they can give Cameron Keenan enough time to throw the football, then he's got an opportunity to pick them apart, make some good throws. But if they aren't able to hold up front on the offensive line, it could make it very tough for this Ramsey team to be able to score on them. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest parts of the game, really for both teams, is which side can hold up better, which offensive line can hold up better to their opponent's defensive line.
Yeah, you said it best, Caleb. That is going to be the key factor in the game, because both teams has athletes everywhere. But he's special at quarterback, Caleb. You've said it best. I mean, you can see the guy flick his wrist, the ball goes 60 yards, and then you put him with a dynamic running back like they have. They're very tough to beat, but we don't give enough credit for what they have out on the edge either. They got 3 or 4 guys that can go get it. They look like D1 guys, and their speed. You guys just talked about speed. Ramsey is just next level fast as well. I mean, they fly to the ball. Offensively, when they get guys in open field, it's just like cheat codes. I mean, Ramsey's just a really good football team, and they go play Auburn, and they go play all these Parker. They go play all these teams in their non-region on top of the Birmingham region that they're in to prepare for moments like we're about to see. And it's got them to where they're at. Coach Jackson shies away from nobody. And I don't know the gentleman's name, but their defensive coordinator, after he plays every single team, he finds the offensive coordinator of that team and asks them what they've seen on film. What can he get better at? I've heard it from 3 different offensive coordinators at 3 different schools, so it lets me know it's not a fluke. He's actually going and doing this. And when you got coaching staff like that and you put it with athletes like they have and a determination, I mean, every day is a battle for them, Caleb, from the weight room standpoint and the things they got to go through being a magnet school. So it's no mystery they're battle tested. I'm going to say 2 more things before we get out. Shout out to Coach Reese and what they've done at Gunnersville. It's been a phenomenal season. They beat 2 Birmingham teams and lost to the 3rd one. And they knew they had to go up against that. And these seniors he has there has done a fantastic job getting better each and every week, each and every year to get them to this point of the semifinal. So, Coach Reese, shout out to him and Gunners Wildcats. And the last thing, and I hate to even bring this up, is somebody, I don't know if you've seen the picture that was floating around last night. Somebody from Barstow. Yeah. somebody from Barstool Gunnersville made a picture that was very, 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 very distasteless. And I don't want people to reflect that on Gunnersville in some way. That's an individual doing something incredibly stupid and tasteless. And I don't want people to think, Coach Reese and people like that act like that at Gunnersville. The fact that we even have to bring that up in the society and time we live in, I think, is disheartening and stupid to begin with. And I don't want it to be a reflection of what those, because, Caleb, we film our show from up there. And some of the nicest people you've ever met is up there. And it's just really, I don't want to go on this tangent or tirade or whatever you want to call it, but it's just really disheartening. We have to look at crap, and that's what it is, pure crap for this day and time, especially because communities can get branded that because of one individual's stupidity.
No,
Yeah,
no,
great point. Great point. And guys, let me say something too about Gulf Shores matching up with Ramsey. Ramsey having the opportunity to be in the big show before. This is the first time ever in the history of Gulf Shores that they're going to be playing for a state championship. Now, their coaches have been in other big games, but you look at young 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-old young men having a chance to play at Bryant-Denny Stadium for the first time ever, you get wide-eyed and bushy-tailed sometimes. So, I don't think Gulf Shores will be a deer in the headlights. Coach Hudspeth will have his guys prepared, but there's a huge difference even when you bring your team in the day before to get a walk around and to see and watch a couple of the games before yours. There's still nothing like actually getting in that locker room, putting on your pants and pads, walking through that tunnel, hearing your name called, and strapping it up for the first time in a state championship game. So we'll see if that plays a difference in the way this game ultimately ends.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it's a good point there, Corey, and going to be a fun one. I mean, that's one of the better matchups I think of the week. I think when you look at the three highest classifications, 5A, 6A, 7A, you really can't ask for better matchups than what we're getting between those classifications. And Bo, I was telling Corey earlier, there's a chance for a couple of these games to maybe get away from some teams if some certain things happen, some turnovers and some letting the bright lights get to you. But when I look at 1 through 7A, this may be some of the best matchups 1 through 7A that we've had. I mean, there's a chance of every game being a really good football game. There's not really one team you look at and just go, hey, they're going to walk in and just walk the dogs of that group.
Yeah, and how many years has it been since you've seen that? I mean, even last year there's some games where it's like, well, they're playing, but yeah. So I'm excited. When they come out with the point spreads on Sundays, they may even be out earlier because there's lack of teams, this week. But when those point spread comes out, it gives us talking points. And Caleb, I'm telling you this live. You don't know this. I'm planning on going with a road to the blue map on Monday instead of Tuesday. I plan on doing travel on Tuesday. But if you can make it up, we'll make that happen on Monday, and we'll have those point spreads out, and we'll bring them to the table. If you can make it up Monday, I don't know if you can, but if you can, we'll go live. Yeah, if you can, we'll go live Monday, and then I'm gonna do travel on Tuesday to go down and prepare. But yeah, dude, the games really started getting juicy around Sunday night when those point spreads come out. And look, Caleb and Corey, this week's different than most weeks. This is a quick turnaround week too. That's another factor.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a creature of habit and you've got to move your game up 2 days, and you've seen that, you've had to move it up 2 days before, or at least a day. I mean, you may play it on Thursday, but you got to move it up a day, but then you lose a day with travel and other things. So that's another factor that can come into this that, a lot of people don't talk about. And you're sleeping in a hotel. You're not sleeping in your room. I mean, there's so many factors that can go in a negative way if you let it.
No doubt. One more classification to talk about here. Going to go to 6A. Corey, not much of a surprise. Saraland takes care of business against Pike Road. And I personally feel had Benjamin Russell been able to get a win, they would have given them a better game just because they could have matched up a little bit more athletically, but I don't think it would have made a big difference in the result of last night of Saraland getting the win. I just think Saraland's on a different level. They've shown that throughout the years. And then not only that, have they shown it throughout the year, but they're a team on a mission, Corey. They want to be the first 15-0 state champion team, and that's been something they've talked about openly. And really, since that Lipscomb game that they had to pull out, really they hadn't had a close football game. And but I think for the first time, they may meet their match here with this Clay Chalkville group that's going to take the field with them next Friday night to end things there in the Super 7. I think we may have lost Corey, Bo.
Well, I'll speak on it for a second. Somebody better figure them out, because if they don't, well, Corey may be back now. Corey, you back?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just to hit a little rocky spot there on I-85. But, man, listen, we talked about this possible matchup, really especially after Clay Chalkville defeated Thompson, that the collision course that we're going to see in the finale of Super 7 football on Friday night. Cannot wait for this matchup. And Saraland has just continued to be a machine offensively. Defensively, they're much better than they were a year ago. And you have guys on both sides of the football, maybe 5 or 6 guys on both sides of the football that are going to play at the next level. And if you did not get a chance to see Saraland win the state championship a year ago and see Mr. Football Ryan Williams, come out and check this Saraland team out in the state championship game, because they're going to be worth the price of admission offensively and defensively. And like you said, Caleb, trying to go 15-0 this time is a much different path than they traveled a year ago. So when you're the hunted versus the hunter, there's a huge target on your back, and Jeff Kelly is going to have his team prepared to defend the state championship.
Bo, you look at Clay Chalkville last night. They lose Jalen Mbakwe, due to kind of a questionable hit, I guess, over on the sideline, according to some. And hope the best for him. Definitely hope that he's able to play in this game. One of the things that's going to be interesting, guys, is they may have found out, hey, maybe we have another quarterback that we can play, and we can go play Jalen on the side of the ball that he's going to go play in college, and on the side of the ball that he can help us. And so do you think that Fry stepping up and playing the way he did last night and producing the way he did? I mean, they scored more points with Fry in the game than they did when Mbakwe was in the game. Do you think that maybe can change some things for them and allow them to play Mbakwe more defensively if he's able to go this week to match up with Ryan Williams?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I can guarantee you it did. It made Saraland's whole game plan change. Now they have something they have to prepare for. Now they have to spend hours this week preparing for him being in there and the packages and the problems he presents. And that always helps when you make a team do something they didn't plan on doing. They've been watching Mbakwe film they knew what was coming. And that's no disrespect. They probably, they was probably watching film on Parker too now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like if they played either one of these teams, I guarantee you they'd already cut a tape on each. And we got to circle this guy, this formation. They cut a tape on both. I can guarantee they cut a tape on both. They have one eye on both of these two teams. But that's no shot. Like I said, it's no shot at Parker. But they've got footage on Clay, and they've cut a tape watching them. But with him going out, it opened up new avenues for Clay, and it also opened up new avenues within Clay with Drew Gilmer saying, hey, look, we do have a guy that's throwing this thing vertical. We do have a guy that's getting the ball out. We're not as predictable, so to speak, as we were with Mbakwe. But, I don't know, Caleb, did they ever give a definitive ruling? He's done a concussion protocol, wouldn't he? What is the latest you've heard?
That's what I saw. I hadn't seen nothing else about him outside of the fact that he had to, he took a hit and had to leave the game. It was a hit to the head area and had to leave, and there's not really been any other reports. And so I'm sure that's going to be something that people are going to follow. And, you just talked about there's going to be some teams that there's going to be 3 that go on a shorter week this week and have to play on Thursday. And they're a group that, and he's a guy that may really benefit from the fact that they'll play on Friday night and not on Thursday and have that extra day for him to possibly get cleared up and be able to go.
And this is the matchup everybody wanted. So it's here.
Yeah.
It's the last 2 defending 6A state champions playing against each other it's kind of like a unified title, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, well, and everybody across the state wants Mbakwe to play. They want Clay's best versus Saraland's best. That's what everyone wants. So hopefully we get that. But first and foremost, praying for him and Bonkway to be healthy. That's the first thing. I could care less about football if that young man's going to be hurt. I want him healthy, so get him healthy and then let him go to battle. If he can't go healthy, maybe there was a new star born last night, Caleb, and what a story that would be if he went down there and performed well and wants to beat this juggernaut. Because, like I said, I was about to break down the Saraland game, and I was like, nobody's come close to figuring that puzzle out this year in this state. We can say Lipscomb did, but that's a whole nother animal that gets kids in from anywhere. And
they still gave up 31 points to him that night.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody's halfway figured this bunch out. And like Corey said it best last week, it's not just Ryan Williams, it's Ryan Williams and company. I mean, he's got a truckload of his buddies down there with him that's pitching a little bit in on this. You know what I'm saying? So they're not one-dimensional in any aspect. They can run it. They can throw it. Obviously, they can receive it. But I don't think they get enough credit for what they do defensively. Look at these scores. I mean, they're killing people and not giving up nothing. They're stingy. They're salty. Somebody better figure it out because that point spread there, especially with Mbakwe being banged, that may be a pretty high point. I mean, it could be a pretty high point spread, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and look, you look at 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. There's going to be some college level players on the field in those 4 games, but when you look at 5A, 6A, 7A, the amount of college players and the amount of Power 5 level players that are going to be on the field in those 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a chance to have 3 college level games Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night next week, and it's going to set up for a lot of fun. And Corey, I don't know about you, but I love it every year when we're there at the Super 7, and that the lower classification game starts ending, the sun starts kind of going down, and you can just almost kind of feel the atmosphere starting to really build up towards those 5A, 6A, 7A games. And I'm looking forward to that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night of just that anticipation, watching them take the field for warm-ups and, just what all that is. It makes it a lot of fun there no matter what stadium we're at.
It really does. And you mentioned, you think back to a few years ago, Caleb, when you and I were there and it actually snowed at Bryant-Denny Stadium. For the first time ever, a football game was played in the snow at Bryant-Denny Stadium from a state championship standpoint. And I know that there's no snow in the forecast because of how bipolar this weather can be at times. But I do know this. Like you said, when you get a chance to turn on those stadium lights, whether it's at Jordan Hare or Protective or Bryant-Denny, and you get a chance to see those lights dance in those school colors, and you get a chance to hear the collegiate songs come on and get the fans really energized, there's nothing like those primetime matchups and the type of talent we're going to see. So many of those young men are going to be playing at that SEC or Power 5 level here within the next couple of years. So we're just blessed here in this state to see some of the best, if not the best, football talent in the entire country.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to a fun week this next week, spending a lot of time there at Bryant-Denny and getting to see 9 really good football games because I'm telling you, if you have not watched a girls' flag football game yet, you need to tune in. Those girls, they get after it. They're getting better. I mean, we're in the 3rd year of this now, so the coaches are starting to figure things out schematically, how to teach certain things, and the game's just improving every single year. And I'm just telling you, the things I've heard about Phoenix City's girls' flag football team, I'm going to be tuning in at 3 o'clock next week. I think it's either 3 or 3:30. I think you got one game at 1, maybe the other one at 3:30, and then the 7A game that night there at 7. But either way, we'll be there, Corey, and we'll be tuned in to both those girls' flag football games and, getting ready for a big matchup with Thompson and Phoenix City there on that Wednesday night to set up. I mean, that first day really sets up the rest of the week and how much fun it's going to be there with the 9 games that we have. So, Bo, I know you'll be there with a lot of coverage of every single game as well for us here with Average Joes and pictures and, videos and stories and things like that that'll be going on social media. And so it's going to be a lot of fun for all 3 of us. It's an honor to get to be there every single year. There's a lot of people that aren't able to make it and don't get the opportunities that we have to be there. And so I'm thankful for that every single year that we get the chance to be a part of this and get a chance to witness all these state championship games and all these big time matchups and big time players. It's fun to be able to look back at some of these guys and say, hey, we saw that guy play in high school and now been able to see what he's gone on to become. So really looking forward to this next week. And like I said earlier, I mean, there is a chance that all 7 games are extremely tight and extremely good games, and that's the thing I'm really looking forward to most.
I agree 100%, Caleb.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, y'all enjoy it. What were you saying, Corey?
Can't wait to see you guys this coming Wednesday and fellowshipping with you guys Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on top of some great high school football, to where you guys have said it all season long. The road to the blue map concludes there at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So looking forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday and seeing some great championship college football today.
Hey, those who don't know Corey, he looks like a Philadelphia lawyer over there, bud. Full suit. That mug's clean as it gets when he's dressed up at the Super 7.
It's fun. It's a lot
I'll
of
get
fun.
some pictures. I'll post some pictures. I mean, Ric Flair. I mean, it's Ric Flair-esque.
Well, Corey, you be careful heading up to Atlanta. Enjoy the day today being there at Mercedes-Benz Dome. Should be a lot of fun. Speaking of big matchups, that's going to be a big-time matchup. We talked about how some of these high school games are college-level matchups. That's an NFL-level matchup. They're really between Alabama and Georgia, and should be a lot of fun with the amount of athletes that'll be on the field there. And, hope that you enjoy it. Hope you're safe getting back, and look forward to seeing both of you guys next week and, crowning our 9 state champions here for the AHSAA and wrapping up this 2023 football season.
Absolutely, guys. Looking forward to it. Y'all be safe.
All right, y'all make
See
sure
you
to tune
tomorrow,
in.
Caleb.
Yeah, I'll see you up there tomorrow, Bo. And
Yes, sir.
we'll make an announcement on if we do Road to the Blue Map Monday or Tuesday, but we'll have that information coming out for everybody here soon. So just make sure to stay tuned, and we'll let you know when we're going to do that. More than likely, it'll be Monday now. And so make sure to tune in for Road to the Blue Map, and we will break down all 7 of these games, talk about them way more in depth, give some more stats, maybe have some coaches on to do some interviews and stuff as well. And, we're going to get you all set up, everything you need to get ready for these games, and should be a lot of fun. So enjoyed it, Bo, and we'll see you.